This is Roger Thunder. I'm going to talk today about the Kalika Warrior as opposed to other warriors we're hearing about, as opposed to the white hats and the black hats and all that nonsense. What is a Kalika Warrior? What is the Kalika War Party? Well, let's look at the term Kali, K-A-L-I. Who was that? Well, that's an aspect of the goddess energy. That's an aspect of the planetary energy. That's the warrior aspect of the planetary energy. Now, if you're a Kalika warrior, you don't operate like people might think you operate. You operate on all kinds of different levels. You operate on a physical level, and you operate on a spiritual level. But I digress. Kali, in the Hindu tradition, is a goddess, and she is associated sometimes with the goddess Shakti. Shakti and Kali, K-A-L-I, were consorts of the Lord Shiva or the god Shiva. This is all metaphor, but it's real as well. It's mythological, historical, but it's real as well. If you're a warrior of the Kalika War Party, the first thing that I want to touch on here is that you don't have an adversity towards violence. Yes, peaceful means are appropriate. Spiritual means are appropriate. But when it comes right down to the nitty-gritty, when humanity is threatened, when the goodness of humanity is threatened, when you realize that humanity is part of the earth, the goddess, Sophia, or Mother Earth, you can just call it. You realize that humanity has to work in accord, if they're being oppressed, with this warrior energy of Kali. And she is depicted, as in my thumbnail on this video, she is sometimes depicted as a angry, vengeful, take no prisoners entity. And there's a very colorful story about her arising to fight the demons, or let's say the evil ones, that mean humanity harm, that mean the whole entire human population and the earth on which that population resides if they come under harm, or if they come under the gun, so to speak, well then, it is incumbent upon the Kalika warrior to do battle. And this battle can be done in many different ways. And as I said before, these warriors don't operate on the levels that people think they do. They have to operate on other levels that are totally unconventional to deal with the unconventional threat that is perpetrated against humanity by these archontic, controlled psychopaths that rule this earth. Now, when I go out there and I listen to these narratives, it's unbelievable because they know nothing about Kali. They know nothing about the warrior class of the earth in accordance with and in a symbiotic relationship and in an instructional relationship with the planet. The planet instructs the Kali warrior or the Kalika warrior. This is done on all kinds of levels, people. This is done on a magical level, on a very high spiritual level, as well as on the physical level, if need be, to take out these enemies of humanity and of the planet itself. Kali, when she went on her rampage, the goddess Kali, the story goes that when she went on her rampage, she fought like there was just no tomorrow. She fought the demons and also the ego instilled in mankind and the narrative. She fought viciously. In fact, she fought so hard that Shiva, this is the narrative, this is the story, that Shiva, her consort, her other half, her male identity, had to lie down before her because she was so outraged and on such a killing spree against the darkness, the evil, the demons, that he was afraid she would just destroy the whole planet, and so he laid down, and she realized when she saw Shiva lying down in front of her that maybe she'd gone a little bit too far. And so she slowed down her murderous rage. I won't even say murderous, I'd just say rage. And kind of backed off a little. But this just shows the ferocity of the warrior energy from the planet. And those of us who are Kalika warriors have been called and chosen for this task of defense of the planet. And like I say, the Kalika warrior works in all kinds of different ways, from all kinds of different levels. But the most basic concern is that the warrior be united with the earth energy and go appropriately as instructed from the earth energy. No, it's not bad to have feelings of violence if the violence is couched in the terms of preventing harm. And we're not just talking about self-defense here. That's not what I'm talking about. Yes, it's all well and good to use self-defense in any means that you can to protect yourself and humanity. But on the other hand, the true warrior discerns when this opposition is arising and the harm that will come from this archontic attack before it even happens. That's a sign of a true warrior in any martial art or anything, is to be able to discern what's coming before it comes and eliminate it. And the warrior, the Kalika warrior, may get to the point, may just be kicking back and watching everything go down, because timing is everything. And so some particular strike force within that war party, the Kalika war party, may not strike until it's absolutely necessary or until the timing is right. But the Kalika warrior will never, ever do anything that would cause further harm to humanity or further harm to the people on the planet. Now, a lot of times you hear a narrative, and I'm giving this speech, this talk, to instruct people out there who are buying into this narrative of the white hat and the black hat. I saw yet another video today that I just had to shake my head incredulously at what kind of narrative some of these people are putting out there, these supposedly alternative truthers or patriots or whatever you want to call them. I have to put them in their place. And when I make a comment on their channel that puts them in their place and lets them know that they should not be spreading lies, false hope, and presentations of a battle that's going on that is so naive and so comic book and so beyond what true warriors would ever do, it's laughable. And when you hear things like, for instance, I'll take an example today. I heard a story, okay? We all know that the story is out there that there's going to be some kind of supply line failure, or that the store shelves could be vacant, could be not getting enough supplies for the people. Well, that could entirely be true. In fact, I see evidence of that now. But for anybody to say that this could be a quote-unquote white hat, good guy operation is totally spreading disinformation. A true warrior in the fight against the dark forces of this world, trying to protect humanity, would never incur further harm on humanity by taking an action that could further harm humanity. It just doesn't happen that way when you're a true warrior. You don't sacrifice humanity or anybody in humanity or any innocence in any way, shape, or form. You don't cause further harm to them to complete your agenda. This is not like the executives and the presidents and the countries and the war machine. This is not like that. A true warrior is not like that. A true warrior does not allow harm to come. Oh, and when the military-industrial complex does this, it's just collateral damage. Really? I got some collateral damage for you. And so that's what they're basing this whole white hat. They're the ones that are keeping the ships offshore and not allowing supplies to go through. Why? Now listen to this one. Because they They're protecting mankind because they got to search through all these ships to make sure there's nothing bad in there. Hello? I never heard anything so far-fetched in all my life. We've been getting supplies through these ships and then onto the intermodal docks and then loaded onto trains and trucks for decades. But now all of a sudden we got to search them all. The good guys have to search them all and harm humanity and cause people food shortages and goods shortages. And like I said before, you couldn't make this shit up, but they do. That's not the sign of a true strike force. A true strike force will go in surgically, as does some of the special force operations with the Delta Force and Navy SEALs. They go in and strike surgically and take out what needs to be taken out without collateral damage, without harming a citizen or a human animal on this planet. So, for these people to say that this is some kind of alliance, some kind of good guy alliance doing this, oh, and they propagate all kinds of other stories also. Another story I heard is that there's black helicopters flying around LA, and what are they doing? And they're in this mode called whisper mode, and this person couldn't even describe what whisper mode is. As a pilot, I know exactly what it is. It's a stealth mode on a helicopter. You flip a switch and it goes silent almost. Not quite silent entirely. These people come off with their comic book Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse theories about what's going on here, and they always attribute it something bad happening to this white hat alliance. Well, what does that do in people's mind? Well, it's okay if something bad's happening then, because in the end it's going to be okay. Really? I got some swampland down in Florida, if you believe that I'll sell to you real cheap. That just makes humankind fall into that very trap that I've been talking about for a long time now of being passive, being nonviolent, being, oh, let things just go on. Yeah, it's okay if there's a food shortage because the good guys are really doing it. It's okay. Listen to this narrative. It's okay if there's deaths and carnage because the good guys are really actually doing it to save us, or they're doing it for a reason to expose how bad the world is so that people will wake up. And man, this shit just goes on and on and on. And it's for a true warrior, for a true Kalika warrior, they can see right through this shit immediately. I mean, it doesn't even take 2 seconds. You are endowed with a certain intuitive ability as a supreme warrior to immediately recognize bullshit. And when you post a comment on one of these people's channels and it gets taken down immediately, when you talk common sense, when you talk, hey, you know what, don't mislead these people into thinking, giving them false hope about some bullshit story that you made up, they take it down. This is how I check. This is how a Kalika warrior checks to see if a person is coming from a true care about the humanity warrior place. Let's put it that way. And if they take it down, you know right away that they either feel guilty or they are taking an active participation on a disinfo level against humanity. So they're marked. They're marked for what they are. And on some level, they will suffer the consequences. This isn't a pretty picture, people. It's not a pretty picture of what's going on out there right now. There is so much deception and so much double bluffing going on and so many false narratives concerning what it's really going to take to overcome this dark, murderous force that is against humanity right now has nothing to do with the conventional military type warrior alliance, good guy. It is so far beyond that most people probably couldn't even comprehend how a true warrior really works. There are those of us out there that are working on other levels, okay? And like I say, it can range. There's divisions in this warrior class. There's bands, there's strike forces, there's people that work on psychic levels. There's people that can kill psychically, okay? But this is never directed in any way, shape, or form at people that are loving ordinary, humanity. It's not directed at people that are either victims or have been taken in somehow through the illusion. This is never directed at any kind of loved one or anything like that. It is a very, very selective group of people that this is directed at. And this usually is directed at, for the most part, the ones that are controlled by the dark archontic forces and are psychopathic murderers of humanity, of children, of animals, of a lot of different things. Civilizations, communities, businesses. The people that are doing this will be targeted and they will suffer the consequences and they will be in big fucking trouble. You can count on that. Timing is everything. But that's not to say, when I say timing is everything, that's not to say that operations are not in effect right now. That's not to say that. Operations are in effect. Things are being done. You can count on it. But when I talk about timing, it's about instruction from Sophia, instruction from Kali, the warrioress, as to when and what to strike and when and where to move. This video is an operation. People that speak from the heart. I have a book out, Listen to the Wind, Speak from the Heart. It's an award-winning book. It's available on my website, Spirit of Crazy Horse. I'll put the link below, but that's not why I'm here. When you listen to the wind represents, what does it represent? It represents nature. It's instructions from nature as to what's coming, what to do next, how to do it, how to handle certain situations. Now, I, as a warrior, am putting out information now that is very vital to humans on this planet. And it's imperative that you listen to what I have to say, because I speak truth. I don't go out there with phony stories about black hats and white hats and the alliance and as I said before, a lot of this stuff is based on Christian theology. Like one person, for example, who sits in a room and has a camera and just focuses at his boots. He won't show his face. And he's supposedly some big high mentor of the truther movement. And he talks on and on and on and bullshits endlessly and never says anything, but what he does say speaks volumes. Because some of his narrative is based on what? It's based directly on the Christian Savior, Son, Redeemer, end time, apocalyptic narrative. All kinds of tales about David and Goliath and this and that, and tales from the Bible about, and not just from the Bible, from this concept of that this fight is against Satan, the devil, and Lucifer and the Luciferians, and they worship this and that. This person knows absolutely nothing about the goddess energy, knows nothing about the Gnostic, the Gnosis point of view, knows nothing of any of that, and if he does, he's severely misleading people with this Christian dialogue of saving or the Savior, but yet the Savior never comes in this person's dialogue. It's always, well, the dominoes are going to fall, and it has to get take a deep breath, and it has to get worse before it gets better, and things are being allowed for a reason so that people can wake up and just see how horrible everything is. Of course, by that time, he fails to say that by that time, when everything gets that bad, you think there's a chance of reversing it? If you sit around on your ass and you're passive and you're not a warrior, you got to get out and kick fucking ass. And that's could be a metaphor for just getting out on the street, speaking your voice, not buying into false narratives and false hopes. And we see some more of that happening now. But see, that's all being guided from a different source. We see people rising up. We see humanity questioning now more and more. But that's coming from a different source. That's coming more from the true warrior class that is instilled in people's consciousness. But they're going to fight the other side. The enemy is going to fight tooth and nail through alternative media and alternative concepts and creating new religions, new UFO religions, and looking at them as saviors. And this all deters from the true Kalika warrior. And you can have a part in that warriorship, but very few are selected. Let's put it that way. It comes You come to this knowledge of what being a true warrior is through selection, through divine selection, or cosmic selection, or selection by earth energy. True earth warriors, and they existed in all tribes and traditions, including the Native American tradition. There were always these type of warriors. There were always these type of people that were hooked in on a spiritual level like Crazy Horse, who went out and meditated in the hills for days. People that sought instruction from other sources as to what to do and when to move. This is in all kinds of traditions, the Arthurian, the Grail, the Maori tribes of Africa. I mean, all kinds of different warrior traditions exist that are part and parcel of this Kalika mindset. Not fighting for materialism or land or any of this stuff, but just for the good of humanity. Not trying to do a financial reset or... Those are all the machinations of these small-minded psychopathic individuals that are trying to run this planet. They're coming to a dead end now, like I said in my last video. It's coming to a dead end because they don't have help from the outside anymore. They've been neutralized by the planet herself. So they're in a life and death struggle right now to take humanity down any way they can from their exposure, from their previous exposure to this archontic manipulation. But that power is waning, and the more that people like myself can spread the word here about what's really going on, about the whole historical narrative and the evolution of the earth processes and the Kali Yuga and the cycles of the planet and the cycles of history coming to a full fruition. Is this a good time to be alive? Many say it is, because you're going to see things you never have seen before. You're going to experience things you have never experienced before. But the only way that you're going to get through this is to connect with that primal energy of Mother Earth, Gaia, Unsimaka, Sophia, Kali. You got to get into the whole Shiva, Shakti, ancient traditional thing. It's all the same. You have to hook into it. You have to let it guide you. And if you do, you'll feel extremely comfortable and extremely protected. Because then you know you're on the right side. It's all about the decisions you make, the decisions to take or not take an inoculation, the decision to believe or not believe all this propaganda out there. Nobody said it was going to be easy to be a Kalika warrior, to be a spiritual warrior. Nobody said it's easy. It's not easy. That's why so few of us hear the calling. Because we may have been going through spiritual practices for years and years and years in meditation and education of oneself through the knowledge of the mystery schools. the alternative between the Savior Son, Christian, Islamic, apocalyptic narrative that permeates the earth and causes all the heartache and events that we're seeing now on the planet. You must, at all costs, be very selective in what you put into your mind from these sources, because it's real easy to get hooked on this stuff. It's real easy. Oh, it's a form of entertainment. This isn't about entertainment, folks. This is not about entertainment here. This is about war on a very, very high level. And it could be on a very physical level as well. Incorporating whatever needs to be incorporated in the way of weaponry. You got your physical weaponry, and then you got your psychological and spiritual weaponry. It's all good if used in the proper context and towards not just a perceived threat, but a very, very real threat. So I thought I needed to do this little bit here today and just kind of inform people about what real warriorship is. I'm going to start calling out these people by name. If it comes to that, I will start calling them out by name. And it is coming to that. It's really past that. My compassionate side and my nice side sometimes gets in the way of my true warriorship, because I should be ripping these people a new asshole and pointing out to them to others who they really are. And I'm sure a lot of people know who they are already. So be on notice, people out there that are spreading these false narratives. Be on notice. We're watching you, and we're watching what you're doing. And if we don't call you out now, well, later on, you're going to suffer the consequences. You're going to suffer the consequences. On some level. On some level. Kali and the Kalika Warrior have a certain way. And it's not like anything that you could ever imagine. I'm going to leave it there today. Think on those things.